Good morning. Just grabbing the usual time that I get to have 5 minutes or so to talk to myself / whoever is listening. I thought that what I would talk about today is the headline really is going to be about the difference between responding and reacting. And this was something I've been thinking about for quite a while, but it came back into my head again recently. So I'd noticed during my 10 days of COVID isolation, with most of which was spent with the kids as well, not just me, we collectively were having a bit of issue with the behaviour of the kids at times, because it's kind of understandable. 6-year-old and a 3-year-old cooped up in the house with their baby sister and their parents, with not really all that much to do. There was a lot of fighting and bickering and behaviour that's maybe not ideal. So within the grander spectrum of things, it's not a massive deal, but what I had found and what I had commented on to my other half at the time was that I felt that I was being particularly reactive with our oldest, who, as I've maybe said before, we suspect is probably neurodiverse, so that kind of adds another element to it. So I felt like I was being too reactive. I was not flying off the handle as such, but I was very quick to raise my voice and resort to ultimatums, compared to what I'm like normally fairly kind of calm and considered in my approach 80 to 90% of the time, only raising my voice when there's some kind of threat to life or limb or some urgency about the situation. But I'd felt that had deteriorated slightly, particularly during that isolation period, and it did just bring me back to the difference between responding and reacting. And really it's a bit of a mantra: respond, don't react. And that was something I'd had to work on quite a lot at work as well, where certainly when I was a less experienced doctor, that was one of the things that occasionally used to happen, was that under stress I would become a bit short with people, and that still happens now. I'm only human at the end of the day, but we kind of move towards that slightly more desirable ratio of something in the region of 80-20, ideally 90-10, but 80-20 is not a bad compromise. So I think it's probably important to say that sometimes you need to react rather than respond. It's a decision between thinking fast and thinking slow, for anyone that's read that book, and I teach a little bit of clinical decision making to our foundation doctors, and we talk a bit about that. You can't do 100% of either of them. You can't always be doing things as a kind of snap of the fingers, snap judgment thing, because some decisions and some things need a response rather than a reaction. But equally, responding, or that kind of system 2 thinking, takes a bit more energy and a bit more time, so you can't do that 100% of the time. Otherwise all your actions will end up being very slow and very ponderous. So there is there's an optimal ratio to seek. And I think as a cut-off is about 80-20. If I aim for 90-10, with the ratio being 80 to 90% responding and 10% reacting, I know that hopefully I'm getting that right most of the time, bearing in mind that, as I say, I'm only human, I'm not perfect. So I've made much more of a conscious effort to stay calm, particularly when I'm dealing with both my kind of slightly more grown-up kids. Can't really react to a baby, can you? But just trying to stay very calm with them the majority of the time, and just reserving that raised voice or more sharp, sudden shock of raising the voice for situations where it's really needed, where there's some kind of urgency for them to do something or not do something. And just approaching things quite calmly and getting down to their level, communicating with them in a way that's more likely to to get a response out of them, because this was the thing, you kind of, what you put in you tend to get out. So actually, if I'm being very reactive towards him, he's being very reactive towards me, and I've got to own that ultimately. If I'm not getting what I want out of that, or what I think I need out of that situation, but that's because he's giving me back what I'm giving to him, which makes total sense. And there's also that element of how he sees the world around him, and I guess how I see the world around me as well. So yeah, it's just making that kind of conscious effort, because I think that actually he's had a lot to contend with recently in terms of getting used to having a 3.5-year-old brother who just wants to follow him around and do everything that he wants to do, having a baby sister, the attention in the household being divided a little bit more, not in his favour anymore. So actually Myla Hafford had a very good point when she said that actually he's looking for attention, and if the only attention you can get is you raising your voice at him, then perhaps he's going to take that. But that's not the kind of relationship I endeavour to have with with anyone really. Certainly not my children, who will likely repeat a lot of those behaviours as they grow up and have kids, and as they interact with the people around them as well. So yeah, just getting back to that whole mantra. Respond, don't react. Let me know what you think, and if you've got any other suggestions about what you want me to talk about, then let me know. Have a great day.